Hello, Canada. Welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Dougy. Well, we've got lots to go over. I am probably going to pound off 3 episodes today. Yes, there's that much material. Today's episode is going to be East and West and Western separation. And I say East and I mean Central Canada. Although Atlantic Canada always seems to be there to prop up them Liberals, which makes no sense to me. I mean, they decimate your guys' economy more, just like they do ours, but I guess you guys do get a lot more payouts than we do, so, or than they do, the prairies. I'm going to show you an interview with Daniel Smith. I'm going to show you a small clip of Doug Ford, the new Doug Ford, after he got his pee-pee whacked for his big mouth. And then I'm going to bring in Western separation throughout. I want you all to listen very carefully because this is stuff the mainstream refuses to talk about. And I've said it on many shows. Canada, you are literally this close to losing one province for sure, possibly 2. And I would have to say 2. If Alberta goes, Saskatchewan will follow. They're brothers. They are incredibly tight. Watch the clips. We'll discuss it as we move through it all.
Interesting story about how Claudia Sheinbaum, the Mexican president, managed to control the emotional energy and actually persuaded Trump that she was doing all she could. And what's interesting, if the New York Times story is accurate, is that Trump thanked her and then pivoted to just bashing Trudeau. And I think a lot of it was a personal feud. Now that Trudeau's gone, do you think we have a chance to restart things? I'm a little worried that Mark Carney, I mean, at least in his, the last few weeks before he was sworn in, his main target seemed to be Trump. Do you think that Mark Carney's going to have the moral hazard of wanting to pick fights with Trump so he can play Captain Canada to defend us? I mean, Claudia Sheinbaum sort of swallowed her pride in a way, but got the deal done for the sake of Mexico. I'm worried that Mark Carney might want to play Trudeau's game. What do you think? Have you talked to Mark Carney at all?
I have not talked to him. We do have a First Ministers conference scheduled for this week, so that'll be the first time that the premiers are able to get together. And I hope that's not the case. I mean, there's a lot of people who are really hurt by a tariff war, whether it's our Canadian producers who face tariffs selling their goods into the U.S., or whether it's our Canadian consumers who are trying to buy American goods. Tariff wars do not benefit anyone. I think we have to acknowledge that first meeting that the Prime Minister went to in Mar-a-Lago was set us on a bad path. I think he made 2 key mistakes that the President has talked about over and over again. One, by saying that we would not meet our NATO commitment until 2032. That's not going to be good enough. I think we should all recognize that. And secondly, implying that somehow Canada would collapse if we had 25% tariffs on it. That really displayed a lot of weakness. I don't feel that sense of weakness in Canada right now. I feel like, in fact, everybody is doing everything they can to show, no, we are a strong, united country. We will find new markets. We will support each other. And so I think the message that the Prime Minister conveyed was the wrong one. And I hope that the new Prime Minister doesn't make the same mistakes.
Now, he is making the same mistakes, and he's doing it in a rapid fashion. Number one, he didn't go and talk to Trump when he got elected. That was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. But when you're a chicken shit globalist, you run to your partners in crime. Number 2, he goes to Europe, and now Trump knows he's trying to drag Canada into the EU. That is a huge mistake. And by the way, Canada, we don't want part of that. Come on. Think about it. Just think about it. You're going to be run by unelected officials. We've got one in power right now who, if you watch my previous episodes, you will understand how evil these people are. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the country or the citizens. Mark Carney has spent more of his life outside of Canada pillaging third world countries than he has lived in Canada. Think about that. This man is not a Canadian by any means. And if I'll show you the clip in another episode today on how he treated the media, especially women media. He's worse than Trudeau. But I guess this is what liberals call a feminist nowadays. I don't know. I don't know. Nobody even says feminist anymore because liberals ruined it for real feminists. Number 3, Canada is watching him, especially the West, out parading and literally campaigning on tax dollars, flying around in a jet. All of this money giving and promises, and he doesn't have an elected seat. He's not really, as far as I'm concerned and the West is concerned, and literally everybody that I talk to through all of these, I only run across a very, very minute few who are like, but then when you show them the proof, they shut up and they leave. They call you a racist and they leave. He's campaigning on our dollar. Number 4, he's still allowing the rhetoric. The rhetoric. When everybody knows, I've been saying this forever. Dougy could have went down easily, skipped by the entire Liberal caucus, which is hard because he is a Liberal at heart. And he could have said, whoa, these steel deals, let's deal with this right now. How about I double production, or we do this, and then I guarantee that X amount, we'll put it in a coffer, and we can talk to the government and ensure that it goes to our military spending. Would have been brilliant. Who's the one who's doing it? Daniel Smith. The media hammered her, saying, oh, she was a traitor. She's working for herself, not Canada. And the whole time, it's always been Canada. Even though she knows how her province feels towards the rest of Canada, she's still fighting for Canada. She's the best premier we have, the best one I've ever seen. She surpassed Brad Wall. I thought Brad Wall was the best for the longest time, but he lacked the kahunas. She's got brass balls. She don't mess around. And she is smooth and cool as a cucumber. She's as Canadian gets. Calm, smooth, thinks things over, doesn't listen to the bull crap, especially the media. That's a Canadian. Now listen very carefully to what she says.
A bit worried, though. He has Stephen Guilbeault as his new Quebec lieutenant, and I don't think he has any there's no Albertans in cabinet. In fact, there's only two cabinet ministers west of Ontario. Do you have anyone on the inside of the government who's like a red telephone during the Cold War? Is there someone you can talk to? I mean, in fairness to Mark Carney, he's doing a lot of things at once, but does the government of Alberta have an ear in this government somewhere, or is it just Guilbeault all the way down?
Well, I have to say, I mean, I've had a pretty good relationship in the past with a couple of cabinet ministers, and so I'm able to be in touch with them, especially on the trade front. And a couple of them have been quite constructive. But I mean, make no mistake, Mark Carney has been in the background for the last 10 years advising this government on net zero power regs and net zero emissions targets, whether it's for autos, for houses, for emissions caps, methane caps. And so I haven't really seen much to give the indication that he's going to repeal all the terrible laws that targeted Alberta over the last 10 years. He's gotten rid of the one that is the most visible, which is the consumer carbon tax that you see when you fill up your tank and you open up your home heating bill. But it still sounds like that he's intending to not only keep the ones on industry, but make them even higher. And I can tell you that that's just not going to be on. We've had that kind of victimization in Alberta of our industry for the last 10 years, and I don't think Albertans will put up with it anymore. So
Did you hear her? She knows what's going on. She is so in touch with her constituents. It puts to shame the rest of them, especially Dougy and Eby. Those two are a complete waste of skin. Listen carefully. This is what she knows and that the media should be telling you, but they're not, because all they care about is the central Canadian bubble, those who control 99% of the rest of us.
I think that Alberta has overtaken Quebec as the part of Canada most interested in a post-Canadian future. How would you rate Alberta independence feelings or Alberta separatist feelings in March of 2025?
It's off the scales. I've never seen it higher. I mean, we have a history of in Alberta being frustrated and feeling that we're not getting a fair deal and that we're being taken advantage of. So we're not in a happy marriage with the rest of Canada. And there's more and more people thinking that at a minimum, that Alberta needs to become an independent sovereign country. And there's many as well that are finding great appeal in this offer from an attempt by US President Donald Trump to expand the territorial boundaries of the United States of America.
Now, I think that Trump's...
This is what I've been trying to say, and I've said it on a lot of episodes. It has exploded in Alberta and Saskatchewan. And if Carney wins, say goodbye to your cash cow. They're gone. I talked to a lot of people. And after these 2 episodes I did on Carney, I've got even more, especially from Alberta and a few more from Saskatchewan, that are commenting and asking. They had no idea. And now that that's out and they realize not only how, because most of them knew how evil Carney was, but how the government even allowed them to get involved in the TMX while squashing all of the other pipelines. It was the finishing touch for a lot of them. I actually think that video, I think every Albertan and Saskatchewanite that sees that video, if they were on the fence, are 100% convinced now that if Carney gets elected, if the Liberals stay in power, or if the Conservatives win with not a solid enough majority to expose and start arresting and charging people for what they've done to our country. And this isn't just Alberta. They've done this out east. Look at what they did to the fisheries. They gave corporations the open fishing and filleting franchises instead of giving it to the people. I'm still trying to find the clips. I saw it and I wish I would have saved them. I'm having a really hard time finding them, where there were fishers that were out there and they were absolutely livid. And they're gone, scrubbed. The media doesn't want to talk about it, especially out east. They don't want other Easterners knowing that they're still hammering the fisheries out there. They'd rather corporations. They don't want the everyday Canadian to make money. They don't want the families. They don't want the community. They want to flood you with migrants, drop everybody's wages, and have corporations come in and do it all. They get more taxes off it anyways. And it costs you. Back to Danielle Smith. This woman is brilliant. Next Prime Minister of Canada. She's going to be the first woman Prime Minister. If not, she's going to be the first whatever President or Prime Minister of whatever Alberta, Saskatchewan going to call themselves, Buffalo or whatever.
Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, sort of filled the void when Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau were in their interregnum. And I think he got in trouble a bit by making some threats to turning off the electricity. And it felt like Secretary of Commerce Lutnick called him out on the carpet. I wonder if it's possible for you, as the friendliest Premier, I don't know if I could say that, or the most open-minded Premier, let me say that, if you could do some positive commercial diplomacy and say, look, we don't actually have to fight Ottawa Liberals. We have the legal structures in place, the USMCA. We have the pipeline plan, the Keystone XL. Let's just do it. Like, do you need to wait for Melanie Joly, or I forget who the new foreign minister is? Do you really need to wait for them? Or could you theoretically meet with Secretary Lutnick and say, look, don't be trapped in this bad relationship with the Liberals. You got a great relationship with Alberta. Let's just do it. Let's just get her done.
Well, I can tell you, I have met with members of the administration, most recently in Sierra Week in Houston, with that exact message: is that we own the resource. We have the will and the interest to de-risk pipelines if we need to by pledging barrels on it, and we would work in partnership to make that happen. However, it has to be in the context of a tariff-free relationship, because it's a bit of a mixed message if they do put a 10% tariff on oil and then say we want to buy more of it. I would say that if we can get to the point where we have a tariff-free relationship, those conversations can begin very, very quickly. And that's the message that we did want to send when I went down to Houston, is that to the world, and not just to the Americans. We have a mechanism called our Alberta Petroleum Marketing Agency, which allows us to ink deals directly. We were very close to selling 50,000 barrels a day to a European refinery. We'll announce that very soon. There's another company that wants to help market 100,000 barrels per day of our product to Europe. And who knows, maybe we could get a direct sale to the U.S. Department of Defense in the same way. But that's the point, is it is Alberta's resource. We have the ability to get it to market. And I think we now finally have an historic alignment across all political parties that we've got to be supporting each other rather than standing in the way. So I would love to start those conversations in earnest. But I think we have to get through this skirmish that we're having right now over tariffs, and hopefully emerge on the other side with the vast bulk of our resources being tariff-free.
Last question. I know you have to go.
So the media hacked her, called her a traitor, all the rest of that. Lies. She did more to save Canada from the right hand of Trump than any other premier or prime minister or member of the federal government did. I'm going to show you a clip now of the Ontario premier. Listen to how he talks now that he had his pee-pee slapped. Okay, Dougy, where's your big mouth now?
Just want to tell you what's going on in our trip. Maybe I can elaborate a little more.
Now, bear with it. He's a liar. This man is a liar. He's a liberal. He's the new school liberal. I shouldn't say that, because 15 years ago, the Liberals were a not bad party. They had their good and their bad, just like every other party. But what the Liberals have become now are like the NDP have become, or what Drunk May has created in her own little green psychotic party. These people are insane liars. They don't care. They'll do anything for their climate zealots, for the people who pay for their advertising and their campaigns to put them in power. They will sell your soul. They will sell your mum. They will sell out the country for an agenda that does nothing except for benefit them. I'm going to correct him on his lies.
I can tell you it was a very, very productive visit, and we sat down for an hour and a half. Had a great discussion back and forth. We left there knowing what the U.S. wants. And if I didn't do what I did, that meeting would have never happened.
Now, the way he says it, it's like he did a good thing by doing what he's doing. If he really did, he'd be talking in the same voice that he has been for the last month and a half. You don't hear that tone, do you? Because he got his pee-pee slapped. He went down there because Lutnick called him on the phone and literally told him that he had the big three on the phone, and in a matter of minutes would shut that province down. And I know this. I read lots. I saw it happening. I was weeks ahead, warning, putting these videos out, warning, trying to get the word out. This is why I need you to like, share, and subscribe, for these idiots to see, and for the voters to break out of the media, out of the propaganda, and actually be able to go, oh, whoa, that guy's been right how many times now? And it's not just me. There's thousands of others like me that are trying to get the word out. How about you be Canadian? Knock it off with trying to steal elections, which is exactly what he did. He used Trump to steal an election. Not to say he wouldn't have won. He should have won a minority government. There should have been enough time for the real Conservative Party, which is Derek Sloan and some other guys. I can't remember the name of the party now, but a real conservative. Not these liberal shills. Not Trudeau's minions. That's who this guy is. He got his pee-pee slapped. You can hear it in the tone. It says it all.
We'd be going back and forth, tit for tat. But there's a big difference when you're looking at someone, their whole trade team across the table, looking at them in the eyes. You have a much better conversation than over the phone that we've had a few times so far. And I can tell you what they want. They're going to put a global tariff on the whole world.
That's what I've been saying since day one.
On August the 2nd. What we're working at is making sure that we're first in line for exemptions. And we told the administration very clearly how we feel these tariffs are going to hurt the American people. Yes, it's.
Now, he was told Canada will be first in line for exemptions because Trump wants to take this continent back to where it should be, being the strongest empire on the planet, with Canada included. Not as a 51st state. He was trolling, but he was serious if shit didn't happen. So in other words, get your eggs in a row, or I will start putting some serious pressure on you to force you to do it. And what did our media do? They lied. Fear, hate, and division, people. Fear, hate, and division. All of this rhetoric, this could have been solved a week and a half after Trump first hit us with tariffs. All of this could have been solved.
It's going to hurt Canada, but it's going to hurt the American people. Mark my words, on April the 2nd, markets will continue to tumble. They were down over $4 trillion.
Now he's making it sound like, oh my God, they're American. They all know. They all know. It's not the American market isn't free in a free fall, people. Don't let the media lie to you. This is expected. Don't be surprised to see $7-8 trillion in losses. They'll still be higher than what they were when Trump first got into office on his first term. He's already quadrupled everybody's pocketbooks. They're going to take about a 10 or a 15% hit, but it's going to be worth it. And every American business knows it. It's the media that's trying to convince you at home to believe something completely wrong.
Consumer confidence is down right now. Investments are down. Inflation is happening.
Global investments are down. They are running. They are fleeing. As I said in my other episode, you've got people like BlackRock, 6 banks in the States, 3 banks here, all left. GVANs. They're all fleeing. This is what Trump wants to do. He wants to crush the globalists, and especially the globalists who are pushing the green agenda. He wants them gone. He wants America to be a superpower with American companies.
And plants, if they continue, assembly plants in the U.S. will close down. People will be out of work. And I can tell you, our closest allies right now are the American people.
Now, all the unions, the auto unions down in the States right now, are all rejoicing. They're rallying around Trump. They are actually trying to push the big 3 executives and members to start pulling out of Canada. His big mouth.
And so we're going to continue the conversations. David Patterson, our trade representative in the U.S., followed up. They've kept their word about following up. They had a great conversation last night with a USTR, which was very, very helpful. And we're going to continue on. They also agreed we're going to carry these conversations on next week. As Secretary Lutnick told us, he's not invading Canada and all the other nonsense that's been going on. He wants to boost up Canada. It's in their best interest. After, if I can put it bluntly, after they fill their plate. But I went on to mention that you can't flick on a switch and create a car plant overnight. You can't switch on a flick of the lights and open up a aluminum plant. So I think they're coming to realize how important.
Okay, the rest is verbal diarrhea. But you get my point. You hear his tone. He's lying. He's lying through. He's trying to protect himself. He's trying to remain that big tough man, but he's doing it in a really wimpy voice because he literally just got kicked in the nards and sent back home. He knows he's in danger, and he's realizing now because he was told. Look at his eyes. He was told. And now he's aware of what I've been trying to warn Ontario about, and I've been trying to get the word out to get this guy to shut his mouth. I don't want Ontario to lose those jobs. I don't want Canada to not succeed. I want Canada to succeed. We should be the wealthiest nation on earth. There isn't a single person born in this country that should have to pay taxes. We should have free education. We should have free healthcare. It should be there. Mismanagement and greed has taken it from the people and given it to the elites. Before it was the Laurentians, now it's gone global. He got whacked, and I'm glad it happened. It's just too bad that Ontario, you're going to suffer. And I hope he can wipe his chin and go back for some more, because he's got a lot of ass kissing to do to fix what the damages that you guys are going to suffer. Because it's not only the electrical grids that they're starting to already work on. Yes, they're already starting. They're gonna try and completely cut off buying electricity from Canada. And this is gonna go through with the water deal that Trump is also trying to push. In which, you know what, there are people out there, I've seen a few, especially one guy who's on Facebook, and he's trying to say that how Trump wants to renegotiate this land deal, and he wants to take all this bottom portion of Ontario and Quebec. That's not what's going on. Don't listen to that guy. He's full of crap. They want more water. They want to have the ability to get more water. That's what they're after. I will show you that in the next episode. Don't listen to these people. They're quacks. Back to Daniel Smith.
And the U.S. Navy doesn't have to protect Alberta oil from the Houthi terrorists. I mean, that's part of the argument, is if you buy your oil from North America, you don't have to spend $50 billion a year patrolling the Persian Gulf, which is what the Americans do. That's an America First message too,
completely.
by the way.
And the more oil that we sell to the United States, the more revenues it generates also for the federal government. And then they'll have some dollars to be able to meet our NATO commitment, so that we can start monitoring and policing our north as well, and be that partner that they're looking for in North America energy security and
real Prime
international
Minister.
continental security as well. So I think there's a perfect partnership that we would be able to have. We just have to get through this latest round of tension. I know trade relationships always have tensions, but the sooner we can get past this, I think the sooner we can get on to making sure that both nations are able to prosper.
Now, a lot of you out there aren't aware. You all think that Quebec is the biggest threat to secession, to leaving Canada. 10 years ago, Alberta had surpassed their numbers by 20% on the amount of people. It was well over 50%. And like I said before, after the first election of Trudeau and then the second, and then it's at last time that I saw a serious poll, it was 67% and 65% Saskatchewan and Alberta respectively. It's more than that now. And they've also had a premier in one province, that be Alberta, not Mo. Mo, sorry, Mo, you're such a waste. Daniel Smith listens to her constituents, and she's also seen what's been going on, and she's learnt. She studies history. She listens to her constituents, and she's a true Canadian. She thinks. She doesn't just jump and react. She plans. She works it all out. She knew. And when she ran for the leader, her platform, her followers already knew that she was a libertarian. Yes, she's a libertarian. She's got the tattoo and everything. She prepped Alberta. They're ready to leave. Don't believe me? Listen carefully.
I was coming to that because I was just wanting to note on Mark Carney Today was his investiture as prime minister. He does not have a cabinet minister for Alberta. Not that there was a lot to choose from. But he has only 2 cabinet ministers west of Ontario. And he appointed Stephen Guilbeault, that maniac, in charge of Quebec. He's his Quebec political lieutenant, which basically confirms there will be no pipeline to the east. So I just wanted to say that before moving on to your next point. And my understanding, and I haven't studied this like it sounds like you have, but Quebec sort of was the icebreaker. It was the first to cut the path through the jungle on what are the laws surrounding secession. In the United States, secession, I think, is illegal. That was really what the Civil War was about. It was states saying, we're out of here, and the Union saying, no, you cannot leave. Slavery was a cause of the secession, but it was the secession. Lincoln himself said, I would fight this war even if not a single slave were freed. He wrote that in a very famous letter. I think in Canada, secession is not only completely lawful, but the Clarity Act and the Supreme Court have told us how to do it. Is that correct?
Yeah. So in 1998, there was a reference case that went to the Supreme Court of Canada because it looked like Quebec might want to succeed and become its own independent country. And if you don't have a legal mechanism, then you're only left with kinetic force, which you don't want to have. So the Supreme Court of Canada was asked to look at, is there a constitutional pathway for a province to leave Canada and become its own independent sovereign nation or join another nation? And the Supreme Court of Canada said yes. And they said what's required is a clear referendum, a referendum with a clear question, with a clear majority. And if a clear majority of the citizens vote in a referendum, a legally sanctioned referendum, to leave Canada and become their own sovereign, then it places each other province and First Nations, Aboriginal groups, and the federal government under a positive legal duty to enter into negotiations for the terms of that separation. Much in the same way that matrimonial property laws in every province require a divorcing couple. One can say, well, I'm not going to talk to her. Well, good luck with that, buddy, because you're going to have to. And then if not, there's a mechanism. So the same idea. So what's interesting, though, is that Alberta has gone further than any other province in putting all of the legal tools to implement that mechanism of separation in place on the books now, live, ready to go.
They have set themselves up perfectly. Daniel Smith is a chess master on the political spectrum, especially when you're playing against buffoons like Trudeau, Mr. IQ of 86, who is the reason we're in the trouble we are today, not just with the little tariffs we're getting from Trump, but the huge tariffs we're getting from China that Central Canada doesn't give a rat's ass about. By the way, East Coast, how's that fishery tax going on ya? This is the Liberal government. They don't care about you. How about you, BC? Huh? You liking that? You waking up tomorrow morning and the next day and threatening, and all of a sudden you're realizing, holy shit, I've just lost my entire livelihood over an EV that the plants that our tax dollars paid to get put in are going bankrupt. Welcome to Canada. We're not a serious nation. We need to remove this government. We need serious change. No more of this talk. We need serious change. And it only starts by decimating the evil that has taken over the Liberal Party and the NDP. And God, get rid of Drunk May. God, what a waste. What a waste. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I got one more and possibly two more to go today. We have lots to go over, from Trump not necessarily endorsing the Liberals, but saying he'd much rather deal with the weak than the strong. In his own words, we're going to deal with that presser that Carney gave, the tongue lashing he gave to his leftist media, Rosemary Barton, that was priceless. And now the left is eating her alive. Oh, her last fan base. You reap what you sow, you reap what you sow. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Until next time, you've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal, and I've been your host, alias Dougy.